Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome
I'm back from my surgery.
How you feeling?
It hurts to move around.
Okay.
That's about it. It hurts to sneeze. It hurts to laugh. It hurts to fart. It hurts to all the things that we love doing usually. Sneezing, laughing, coughing. Coughing kills me. And otherwise, not so bad. There is a Krishna miracle involved. May I share it with you? Do we lose Kastuba? That never happens. This would never happen to Kastuba. He just disappeared. All right. He'll be back. I posted this on my Instagram, but there's a great Krishna miracle. So Mara, the loving and supportive Mara, was by my side when I came out of what's it called? The recuperation room, recovery room. And while she was reading me the 4 chapters from the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the, what do they call them? Interns, the guys who wear all green that push you around the carts. Interns maybe, or orderlies. Well, one of them, young guy, came in and she was reading the Bhagavad Gita, he looked at my arms. He says, "Man, you got the Fibonacci spiral on your arm. These are very spiritual tattoos." And I just sort of nodded to him. I was still like very woozy. And then he left and came back. And Mara went to get the car to pick me up because now I was really coming out of it. And the guy put me in the wheelchair and started bringing me towards the door. And he said, "Hey, was that lady reading you the Bhagavad Gita?" I was like, "Yeah, are you familiar with the Bhagavad Gita?" And he said, "Well, I'm reading the Dhammapada right now. So I'm interested in all these Eastern things." And I said, "Oh, I used to read the Dhammapada too." I said, "There's a lot of crossover with Buddhism and Vedic thought." And then he's like, "Yeah, Vedic thought. That's what I've been hearing a lot about." And I was like, he said, "But according to time, place, and circumstance, the Buddha didn't teach about the personality of God. He just basically said, listen, here's what you do, here's what you don't do. Just sit down there, shut up." And a lot of the ethical things are very, very similar in what I study, which is Bhakti Yoga. And I said, and I was getting to the door. He's finally got me down the elevator. We had this very engaging thing. And then I said, "Have you ever heard Joe Rogan?" Because I felt like a person like him, that interview with me on the Joe Rogan podcast might be a good intro to him. I said, "Have you ever heard of Joe Rogan?" He goes, "That's it. That's how I know you. That's how I know you. I saw you on Joe Rogan." He's like, he didn't say Krishna miracle. He goes, "This is a miracle. I can't believe I'm talking to you right now." I was like, check out Wisdom of the Sages. That's our podcast. Goodbye.
Good.
And I felt like our duty, my job is done here.
Very good, Raghunath.
Out of all the orderlies, you get the one guy who's watched that podcast, who's reading the Dhammapada. It's interesting how Krishna sends messengers to you.
And
Be the
you
messenger.
were the messenger.
Be the messenger.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great. So that was good.
It wasn't great,
but I will
it was
say,
a miracle.
I think it was sort of a miracle. I will say though, when you're coming out of that anesthesia,
Yeah.
I can understand how people can't remember their last lives. You're just
couldn't
like,
remember
I couldn't
anything.
remember anything. I can't remember how I went under. It's just like you just forget. And I was like, this must what it be must like to take birth. Feel like Mara came back. I was like, who are you, woman? I'm just kidding. I remembered her, but I just couldn't remember how I went under. It was a complete blackout. And then the robots came in.
I never been under anesthesia, but once I got, like when I was a kid, I was playing kickball and I got like knocked on the ground real hard,
Mm.
and it broke a tooth, and then
Aw.
they brought me in to see the nurse in the school, and the nurse said, "So what happened?" And I was like, "I don't know," like I couldn't remember anything.
Right. I don't know. It's interesting, huh? And I guess the process of dying and taking birth, we romanticize it like, oh, look, she's kicking, the baby's kicking, like that's like in one sense, like, yeah, that's beautiful. I have life inside me. I'm nurturing it. In another sense, this baby's trapped in like a balloon, and it's sitting there and it's eating, it's consuming everything you're consuming, the baby's eating. So if you don't have a Sattvic diet, it's a little torturous for the baby. And then the birthing of that baby, magical, beautiful, wonderful, also like intense, probably. For the mother, we know it's intense. She's screaming. And for the baby, it must be intense. Of course, like it's like after you get hit in the head with a kickball and you break your tooth, what just happened to me? Or after you get in a car accident, if you ask people what happened, well, I don't know. I was driving and then I don't remember anything. And I woke up in the hospital. That trauma, it's a gift, I guess, maybe to forget the pain. Huh?
Yeah, it could be. Maybe it's necessary.
Yeah. Just like those people, ever hear those stories about the kid gets hit by a car and the mother develops super strength and lifts the car up?
Where are you going? You're just going anywhere today. What's that have to do with this?
Anyway, I'm in pain, but I'm doing the show. It hurts to sit up.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your sacrifice, Raghunath.
Well, if you're new to the show, if you're on Facebook, this is Q&A day. Get to sleep into 8 o'clock today. We usually do this at 6 a.m. every morning. Study, discussion of India's classic Srimad Bhagavatam, the book on Bhakti Yoga, connecting the soul to source, soul to source. And so today's Q&A day, people write in their questions, and we try our best to answer them.
Okay.
Any announcements, Miss Mara?
Back to your cover group meeting at 9:30 today, and shloka memorization with Nityananda Chandra at 10 a.m.
How do you get on the shloka memorization class?
You email Nityananda Chandra.
Oh, you got to email Nityananda Chandra. How did they get that?
On the Patreon email.
It's on the Patreon email. Okay.
Imagine if you came out of the anesthesia and you forgot all your shlokas.
Or knew millions of them. Imagine that. Like, what's happened to me? You come back from a previous birth.
Yeah.
When I was like in the king's court as a pundit. Imagine that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, being in a hospital, it really sobers you up about life. You're looking at all these people like
suffering.
Yeah, going through stuff with their bodies. I mean, I'm looking at everybody in Zoom. Everyone looks beautiful and happy and healthy. And you go to a hospital, it's like, oh yeah, this is also what happens.
Reality.
The reality. Yeah. I'm so sheltered.
That kind of gets to our first question a bit. We can look at the first question today. Okay.
That's why I was saying it.
Oh, it was a segue, was it?
No, it wasn't, but thank you. Trying to take some credit. Want to read the
one.
first one, Prabhu?
I'll read
Who's
it
it
for
from?
you. Yeah,
Who's it
this
from?
is coming from E.
E.
Just E. Via email, and which is appropriate.
Hmm.
And so E writes, and E even told us that like this is really long and it's going all over the place, so you don't necessarily have to read it. So I took chunks of it and I'll try to kind of sew it together. Okay.
Okay.
But the question had to do with some talks that we've been having recently. I think especially it might have been last weekend where we're talking about maybe it was a couple weekends ago, but upper like capital L love and like small L love.
Right.
And what that's all about.
You want to explain that?
Well, why don't I read this and then, or maybe you want to explain it? You want to get?
Well, capital L love, we mean our original love for God, which we're trying to cultivate. Instead, most people, we're just falling in love with things of this world. We fall in love with our pets, we fall in love with our spouse, we fall in love with our children, we fall in love with our home, we fall in love with our stuff. And the problem with that is those small L loves, it's okay to have that love, but it's all temporary, and it's very often conditional. So we're saying that love is good, but when it's focused, it's the original, the origin of it is the love of God. And then coming into the material universe, that desire to give love and worship gets put to other things of this world. And we're not saying it's bad to do it, but it's small L love.
Okay,
it's the love that'll, right?
Yeah, let's not answer the whole thing right now, but I think you gave enough so that when I read this, the people
do not make me laugh today, okay? I want really super boring Kastuba today.
I didn't even say anything that was
Well, that was funny because I'm actually answering the question right now.
Right.
That's what you were saying. Okay.
All right, so here we go. E writes, I just wonder if small L love isn't more significant and powerful than straws bumping into each other on the ocean. And that's an analogy that we were engaging with, right?
Sure.
And then we
two
also,
straws come together,
yeah,
they float along together, a wave comes, they separate. And we were saying how even people have been married, and you know, marriage is intense. You're talking to this person many times a day, you're living with them, you're raising children with them, but all of a sudden something happens, death or divorce or something, and you separate, and then you look back at that marriage maybe a year later, 4 years later, 10 years later, and it all seems so dreamlike. So the analogy in the Vedas is that it's like two straws come together and then they get separated by a wave.
forever.
Maybe forever.
So this is what E says. So E was a little uncomfortable with that analogy. And he or she continues, straws have no value. They lack an element of personhood. Sure, we are floating on the currents of time, but that doesn't negate the relationships between ourselves. Okay. As spirit souls, we are not simply inert matter bumping. We are beings relating to each other for however long the whims of time decide. I have a bit of old school ashram experience. Those times and those people that I went through the struggles and reformative processes with are meaningful to me and my story. Looking back, I do love my hardships in the ashram, though time has passed and things are different now. So just because certain things are bound by time doesn't negate their value, I think is E's point. Time spent in the illusion of this dream virtual reality that we're living in does have meaning. It has purpose. Whether or not a person is reforming in this prison world or in an ashram, there is value to the reformative experience. Isn't this true? It is how we relate to our experiences and people that matters, not the time spent, be it a bump or more. As small, powerless humans, our only tool for growth is small L love. It teaches us to serve and honor others. It soothes and quenches. It is an antidote to the ills of our dream. Most importantly, isn't it our only means by which we can relate to big L love? In this way, small L love could be considered our greatest treasure, especially for those of us who are not yet privy to big love, big L love. How can we ever know or relate to Krishna if we can't know or relate to love in this world? This is the way I am experiencing my sadness. If one subtracts small L love in this world and they take away my and everyone else's path, then they take away my and everyone else's path to Krishna. It is a painful feeling. So now he writes, this is long. You know, there's much more to this than what we just read. This is long. There's no need to read it on air. I was unable to fully pinpoint my concern and sadness in regards to this topic. I suppose my question to you is, what am I missing? Like, you were talking on this subject, you're using this analogy, and what am I missing? What am I not? Am I not catching something here? Okay, so you want to continue to go with this, Raghu?
Yeah, it's a great question to really clarify it. But I think to make it simple is the goal is big L love, but we will love in this world. Of course we will. It's almost preparing us for big L love, love of God, love of Krishna, love of source. We just don't want you to switch the two, thinking that this woman will fulfill, I point to you, this woman will fulfill all my desires. This man will fulfill all my desires. Having a baby, I need a baby. That baby will fulfill all my desires. This car, I've been wanting this car so long. This Ford Lightning will fulfill all my desire. No, it won't. It'll make you happy. You'll get fulfillment, and you'll also get pain with it. Every parent knows that. Every person in relationship, there's pain comes from relationship as well. The point is not that we were trying to replace the big L love with a love of this world. But if as we advance in our spiritual practice, even painful small L love, when we look back at it, we'll realize that brought me to a certain place. Especially if you're on this spiritual trajectory for a while, you won't resent even painful relationships, painful small L love. You'll be thank God for that. I needed that. That purified me. That made me more open-minded. That made me more broad-minded. For whatever that person did to me, I got so much out of that. What to speak of real good quality, what you call a soulmate or something. If you have a soulmate in your life, you can look at them. This person has helped me so much on my spiritual trajectory. So yeah, we're not saying throw it out, but we're saying see it for what it is. Yeah. It's not the end all in love.
Right. Yeah. There's there's so many things we could talk about this, and it is a great question, and it's great to not just like when we approach these topics and all that we discuss on Wisdom of the Sages. There's value in questioning it and saying, hold it, do I really understand this, or did that even make sense?
Right.
Don't let it just go in one ear and out the other and not really think about it. So first thing I thought of is when we hear, like, even say like Srila Prabhupada speak about love, he speaks about it in different ways. Like we've heard him say, like, in this world there is no love, right? He'll say that, actually.
That's what I meant by it's what was the word I used?
Conditional.
It always has this element of condition. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Yes, I love you. I love you. Okay, would you love me if all of a sudden I become a white supremacist? Well, no, I wouldn't love you then. Okay, then. So you don't love me. It's conditioned on something.
Or like you mentioned a pet, like, okay, I love my dog. Well, do you love the cockroach that's just entered your home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why not love? The dog is
cute.
Why
do we just love beautiful
something
things
in me?
Yeah. Why don't we love like, oh my God, like look at all these beautiful, baby cockroaches. Yeah. Why don't we have a cockroach? Why don't we celebrate cockroach on Easter? You know what I mean? Oh, guess who's coming to bring your presents? It's the cockroach. The cockroach bunny is coming, and he's bringing lots of goodies for us. Little chocolate cockroaches. What's up with us? We only fall in love with cuddly, cute things.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, so Prabhupada would say there is no love in this world.
Easter cockroach.
Are you done with that one?
You may continue. I was just trying to tease it out a little.
All right. So he'll say, yeah, there's no love in this world, but yeah, he's speaking about the quality of love, right? Because other times he'll say, even like he sees two kittens playing with each other, and he'll say, look, even here there is love, right? Like even amongst the kittens there's love. So now he's saying, oh, there is love in this world. So what was he talking about? Yeah, he was speaking about different qualities of what we call love. But just to get back to the analogy that E was commenting on, this is something that we read this week, during the week, where Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur using that analogy of the straw and the floating on the water. And I'll read it again. This is from the commentary to Canto 5, text, chapter 10, text 12. It says, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Aham Mameti, one thinks, I am this body, and in this bodily relationship, he is my master, and he is my servant, and she is my wife, and he is my son. All these conceptions are temporary due to the inevitable change of body and the arrangement of material nature.
There
We
you
are
go.
gathered
That's the answer.
together-
That's an answer right there.
That is an answer. Yeah, we are
That's a
gathered
solid
to-
answer.
We are gathered together like straws floating in the waves of an ocean, straws that are inevitably separated by the laws of the waves. In this material world, everyone is floating on the waves of the oceans of nescience. So now what he's saying, but hold it, no, but we're not straws. We're conscious living beings having meaningful exchanges.
Mm.
And so the first point is that we have to try to understand what the analogy was trying to illustrate, right? Or what it was illustrating. It's this analogy was not designed to devalue the love found in worldly relationships. That wasn't its point.
Right.
It was designed to illustrate the existential reality that our worldly relationships are destined to end quickly, due to time and circumstance, and our forgetfulness of this, due to our forgetfulness of this, because we forget it. We walk around all day like these relationships aren't about to end soon.
Sure, they can end in a moment.
In any moment. And due to our forgetfulness of this, we may fail to seriously search out the full potential, the capital love, the love that transcends time and circumstance. Right. So, so that's what that analogy was. It was saying, hey, this world is not so secure, and you're feeling a connection to another person, and there's nothing. It's not meant to devalue that connection. But it was saying that recognize that connection's end. If you think my happiness is dependent on this relationship, then your happiness is incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, you got another thing coming.
Think about that. So yeah. Now, so that's about the temporality, the vulnerability of our well-being based on temporary relationships. That's what that was speaking to. But it also, but when we discuss the difference between capital L love and small L, small, really the word, what's the opposite of capital? Lowercase, thank you.
Small L, capital. That's easier, I think.
Okay, big, yeah.
Lowercase love, capital love.
I see Professor Snooky over there. She's saying like, these guys, shouldn't they learn this?
These guys got to go back to school. Haven't been to school in like 40 years.
But there's not only a difference in one's time bound and one's not, but there is a difference in quality, and that's important, right? Because the small L love is characterized by a type of neediness that's based on illusion, right? Like, and it's perfectly summed up in that line from that movie where the guy goes, like, you complete me.
What is that from? Jerry Maguire.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah, that's total illusion.
So like, you complete. No. What these ancient yogic texts are saying is you are complete, right? By nature, you're complete.
Right. You just forgot.
You just forgot. So the lowercase love is saying, it's coming with a neediness that, I need adoration, I need validation, I need special attention, otherwise I cannot be happy. And I'm finding it in this person right now, and therefore I love this person. Right?
Bring me a higher love.
But then there's a higher
Bring
love.
me a higher love.
So let's think about this, right? Let's think about this. If the another thing Prabhupada said about the love that we find in this world,
what
in relation to the love of the spiritual realm, or capital L love, is he said that the closest thing we find in lowercase love, he didn't use that term,
right,
that resembles capital L love, is the love of a mother for a child. Okay. Right.
And it is mother. They come from your body. They're feeding on your body. They're completely helpless. They're completely dependent, and they might even look like you. Like, oh my God, I've got red hair. They've got red hair. It doesn't get more. You can't get more attached than that.
But not just attachment. In other words, in its lack of condition, right? In other words, even if you really screw your mother over, right? Like, even if you're really are mean to her, even if you commit crimes, even if everyone else in this world looks at you and say you are the worst,
right?
the mother still tends to love. Even if you throw your anger and your resentment back at the mother
It's
very
very
still loves.
magnetic, that love. You can't, the mother's love, as long as it's a healthy, sane mother. There are some
Yeah.
crazy mothers out there too, but
'Cause,
yeah, the real
but-
motherhood, that's what it's like.
And so the idea is here is that if we really want to understand the potential of love, it requires self-realization. It requires coming unconditionally. It requires not needing something from the if the connection is based on something that we need, that we feel we need from the other person, then it's not actually all so deep. It's not actually also real. It's really not love. It's like I need to take something from you,
Mm.
right? So real love requires self-realization. The way to get from lowercase love to capital L love is self-realization, and self-realization means God realization. Like
Sure.
for a leaf to truly understand its identity, it has to realize it in relation to the tree, because its nature is in relationship to the tree. And so for us to truly understand who we are and become self-realized, we have to understand God, and we have to understand our relationship with God, because we are like a leaf. As a leaf is to a tree, we are to God. We're nourished by God. We're supported by God. We're dependent on God. We are made of the same stuff as God. It's very much the same. So if I want to truly love, I need to understand myself. And if I'm going to understand myself, I'm going to understand myself in relation to God. And this is what. So this is the point. And this gets to the whole broader picture, right? It wasn't to demean. Nobody's attempting here to say there's no value in our relationships in this world. That's not the point at all. And as he is saying, that these relationships can become very important in us understanding, and moving forward towards capital L love. So it's not saying don't love anybody in this world, because that's all illusion. But it's saying as we begin to become self-realized, we can understand really what love is.
That's it. I just want to squirrel off that a second. By the way, on a second squirrel, Timothy Tucker.
How many squirrels are you going to throw at us?
I got 2 squirrels. Timothy Tucker says, my wife is listening to Higher Love in the kitchen while making me a birthday cake
Krishna
at this
miracle.
moment. He said bizarre. We say Krishna miracle, Timothy Tucker.
Yes.
Okay. But I was going to say, Prabhupada used this great term when I was a brand new devotee, skin disease. We have a skin disease where we are attracted to skin. And it's very interesting because our skin is very thin. Very thin. If you were to peel it back less than a centimeter, I would go from being a very handsome, what did I call myself again, of Columbia County?
George Clooney.
The George Clooney of Columbia County.
Yes.
I'd go back from being that George Clooney of Columbia County. If you peel it back, I would be like a muscle face. Ever see those old color forms where they put on layers of muscles and bones and stuff like that?
Yes.
But so that the thing is, we are falling in love. And that was remember my childhood experiment when I was young?
Which one?
Because in our immature stages of
would
love,
I love her if?
Right. Would I'd be infatuated with a person. And then I'd like sit there in church, because I would usually, that's what I was staring at girls in church, of course. I'd be like, would I love her if she had no hair? Would I love her if she had no hair and missing a hand? Would I love her if her teeth protruded from her mouth? Would I love her? And it made me realize, like, what is love versus lust? Like, what can I only love a person that I'm attracted to? How do these things blend? Or do I poison love by adding any sort of lust? So these are I think these were my childhood realizations that brought me.
What a thinker you were.
14 years old, idolizing parts of bodies which can be replaced or just fall off.
Again, we go back to I've shared in the past this quote. I should go look it up again, because I got it from this book from Leo Tolstoy, which is called A Calendar of Wisdom. I think that's what it was called. And it was one of those books like you read a page every day. It's got like every day of the year, and each page has a series of quotes. Some of them, I believe, were by him, and others were just quotes that he gathered from other sources. But one of the quotes, and I don't know if I can accredit it to him or if it was someone else's, but it had to do with understanding that love means loving not what's different. In others, I love this person because you're different than anybody else that I've ever met. love, and this, I think for many of us, we may have to really examine this, and it may crack something open, or it may help us really understand something more. Love means I love that which is the same in every living being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not conditional. It's not I love you because you're different than it. What I love is what's the same, that you are a spark of pure spiritual energy, just like every other living being. And so then when we realize that, we actually have a sense of love for every living being. Deep within the heart, we only wish well for every living being. Deep down within the heart, we see the beauty and the value of every living being, despite external coverings, even despite behavior. Right.
And you know, it's interesting. You want peace of mind. You want shanti. You want to feel good. You want to get rid of your pain in your heart.
Yes.
Yes. You check all those boxes. Then
Yes.
you just explained how you have to think. I actually love everybody because I love them for what they essentially are, underneath whatever they're doing also.
And the word essential is essential there, right? I love them for
Essential.
what they are essentially, right? I love them for their essence.
I
Because
think we're
everything
having a
else is gonna change.
breakthrough.
Yeah, everything else is going to change, right? And
I can't
quickly.
even speak loud. It hurts when I speak
This
loud.
is a good thing. I
No,
think
it's
maybe
not.
you ought to have an occasional hernia operation right now. Uh-oh. Sorry.
Oh, Krishna.
Didn't mean to make it.
Ah,
Do you have to put a belt on? Maybe if you wrap something like around your abdomen,
No.
or something, tied it up.
thank God we didn't have it yesterday. I was out of it yesterday.
Were you?
Yeah.
Out of it? How? Like you couldn't move around, or like your
I
head?
had to sleep in. I had to sleep. And yeah, it hurt me. It hurts to move around a little.
All right. Mara, what are you doing for him? I want to hear.
She's so good. This woman's so good.
Let's hear. What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything, but I did read him the Gita when we were at the hospital.
She read me
That's
Krishna Leela before I went under and came out reading me the Bhagavad Gita.
Can you eat anything? Does that affect it?
Yeah, I can eat, but I'm constipated. I don't know if you care
Okay,
about that, but I just
so-
thought I'd share it.
You're sharing a little too much information today. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Eve, we hope that addressed your very important question.
That was a great question.
All right.
Because we don't want to come off like we just nothing's real in this world, only God. There is no love. That always
that's not
sounds
us.
like, what are you talking about? That's
And
not
I'll
us.
tell you-
In Bhakti Yoga, where there is tons of love. As a matter of fact, the highest form of love is we start to choose actually who we really want to focus our love on. And that love is the people that are lifting us higher. And we're almost like when you're creating a diet, you want to really get the foods that really nourish you. And so as you become more of a connoisseur of the company that you keep, like that, the connoisseur of the company you keep,
Yeah.
then you start to be very careful who you let into your life because you want people to bring you higher and bring you higher. And we start to realize like that is real friendship, not a degrading friendship. I want an upgrading friendship, And then if there are people that are struggling with things, then you want to give them something higher to lift them. I don't want to get sucked into their lowbrow conversations. I want to bring them something higher.
Well, your love is lifting me higher, Raghunath.
You
Higher than I've
lift me
ever
up
been
where
lifted
I
before.
belong.
That was a different
Like a
song.
mountainside. What is the words that?
Like where the eagles fly.
Where the eagles. You know all the words to everything, Kastuba. I'm amazed. You know so much about music. What were you doing?
I
in the
used to listen to
ashram.
the radio a lot.
You have a special closet where you play a bunch of Karmi music.
Yes, I have
The
a special
Karmi music.
closet for that.
The Karmi music ashram closet.
I don't see it as Karmi music. Raghunath.
Karmi. Those who aren't in the know, if you grew up in a bhakti ashram, you were called a bhakti. But the word karma means you're doing it for some result, oftentimes. So it's sort of a pejorative to call someone a karmi. It means they're still engaged in activity to get a desire fulfilled. Whereas bhakti, the goal is to do the activity for the sake of the love you get from the activity. So
Well, your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
higher and higher,
You keep missing
baby.
it. You don't know. I'm quoting the lyrics to another song. Don't you know that one? He's listening.
No.
He's coughing. He's laughing.
All right, what's next?
All right, let's move on. You want me to read it?
It's from Leslie Vente. She's here on
That's
Zoom right now.
She's here. Yeah,
I'll read it. Last week on the podcast during the discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 5, Chapter 9, and the goddess Kali protecting Judd Bart from the dacoits.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about chanting mantras for demigods.
Okay.
So many of the mantras I've learned are for different demigods. I enjoy singing Durga, Ganesh, Shiva, Saraswati. And I've, of course, learned chords and a few melodies for the Maha Mantra. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Jai Krishna. Josh Kane taught me that one, she says. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. So she's basically saying she knows tons of mantras for the supreme god as well as the demigods or the devas or the devis. I love it all, but my question is this demigod worship if I'm singing to Ma Durga or other demigods? These demigods are devotees of Krishna, but in singing to them, is singing to them a diversion? Should I focus on source and sing exclusively to Krishna and Radharani? Should I go deep and not wide? Keep the main thing, question mark. I know there are worse things to sing about in the grand scheme of things. Good point.
There are.
There's a lot of worse things to think about. Chanting to Durga is likely better for me than the lyrics to Funky Town. Or, yeah, all those. There's so many other, yeah. Plus, Krishna has millions of names, so I could probably spend lifetimes chanting just to him. Better yet, chanting in the spiritual world. What do you say? Thanks for all you guys continue to do. Thank you for tolerating me. I'm so grateful for KC 2.0, Krishna Consciousness 2.0, and my Wisdom of the Sages friends. Love to you all. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Leslie Vente, for being such a dedicated listener and supporter. You want to go? Want to go? You go.
Okay. Well, okay. So very good question. We are in no way wish to disrespect the devas or the devis, right? We want to respect, but we want to honor them in truth. As Vaishnavas, as bhakti yogis, as those devoted to the very root and the source of all existence. We want to understand the devas and the devis for exactly who they are. And when we do, we will feel respect, admiration, ultimately love for them. And so this is explained, there's these very vast, wide, we talk about this a lot, right, Raghunath? There's this wide presentation of Vedic teachings,
Very wide.
Within them, you'll find encouragement to worship the devas and the devis.
Sure.
But generally that's done, and the presentation of that, in general, that's done to receive something of this world from them. Like, it's like saying, okay, if you want the things of this world, and Krishna speaks about this very clearly in Bhagavad Gita.
Krishna comes right out of the gate saying it.
Perhaps the most fundamental text. He's going to speak on this. So generally, people worship the devas and the devis to get the things of this world. And in bhakti, we are specifically trying to filter that out of our heart and out of our kirtan. Right?
Sure.
So who are the devis and who are the devas? When you get to Bhagavatam, which is meant to clear everything up, finally, right? Because there's such mixed presentation for people on different levels. Bhagavatam's there to clear it all up. And when we read the Bhagavatam, we hear such fascinating things about the different devas, isn't it, Raghunath?
Yeah.
Now we just read this past week, this exciting, very dynamic, somewhat gruesome tale that you mentioned about the goddess Kali, right? And it's if you think about this is really interesting, right? She had these devoted worshipers, right? And they were trying to worship her in the way that they felt was the right way, that way that would please her. And
human sacrifice.
Yeah, they saw her like a supreme, and they were going to try to do a human sacrifice. And then she showed up, and what did she do? She didn't say thank you for this sacrifice. She actually killed the people
who were doing the
sacrifice, worshiping her, and she protected Krishna's devotee, right?
Yeah,
because she is a devotee of Krishna, right? This is the point. We understand the devas as Krishna's devotees, and so if we honor them in that way. When we honor them in that way. We understand Durga as on behalf of Krishna taking responsibility within this material realm. We understand Brahma on behalf of Krishna taking responsibility within this material realm. Indra, Soma, Surya, all the different aspects of nature. These are great souls who are devotees of Krishna. Sometimes in Bhagavatam, they're being highlighted for the depth of their devotion and their virtue.
Mm.
But what Bhagavatam also does is it sometimes cherry picks certain instances wherein they revealed their own weaknesses or their own flaws, right? And especially maybe more than anyone, we find that with Indra.
Right.
Indra, the god of the rain, who we're all very dependent on.
Depending on rain.
Yeah, no rain, we're in trouble. But we see that, he's also, not only is he the god of rain, but he's enjoying the material facilities of the higher realms.
Mm.
And sometimes due to that, he becomes a little fearful that he might lose his position. He becomes a little confused. He becomes a little proud, a little arrogant.
Mm.
He might disrespect someone. He might go way off.
We see it with people in this world who are demigod-esque. You know what I mean? Like they have some power. They're like very famous, very wealthy, very knowledgeable, and they just might lead with this ego about them. And sometimes they're in such greater illusion that they can't see like there's pain in this world because everything so good is happening to their life. They can't understand a refugee, the pain of somebody else, or not all the time, but sometimes those things can also take away your paradigm of reality, what's actually happening.
So we understand, we respect Kali, we honor Kali, we respect Durga, we respect Shiva, all of them, and actually we approach them with reverence. We approach them even with a feeling of love in our heart and appreciation for them. But as a practice, we stay focused. And so it's not that it's wrong to sing a song that glorifies Durga. It's not wrong at all. But generally that type of worship is done for the things of this world, and we're trying to go higher than that and please Durga as completely as we can by connecting with Krishna, by honoring Krishna, because they are also in that, like, in other words, if I was like worshiping Raghunath would be like, hey man, what do you do? Don't worship me, like, or would he? He'd be like, worship Krishna. I'm a devotee of Krishna. Get focused on the right person here. Now, and maybe one way to illustrate this more clearly, to understand this more clearly, is I was thinking of martial arts. Okay, we're gonna, like, there's so many different forms of martial arts, right?
So many.
How many?
I don't know. It's probably cultures all over the world have their own martial arts.
Yeah. Okay,
so traditions.
Now, if I want to become successful as a martial artist, I could just say, look at all the different forms of martial arts. They're all very interesting and fascinating, and they all have something special about them. And I could just kind of like, try to pick up a little something from all of them, and so on. Or
bad analogy, because now there is mixed martial arts.
Well, I'm just saying, let's just say, you say that, but my guess is, Raghunath, that for someone to become super expert, at first they master one. Don't you think?
It depends. Nowadays, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there.
How about a salad bar analogy? You go to Vegas and they stay at one of those hotels and they have a massive salad bar and they have spaghetti and they have lettuce and they have Chinese food. No one's feeling good after the salad bar.
I don't think that's as good an analogy. Okay, well, here's the analogy that works without fail: is that if they say that if you're digging if you're trying to dig in the ground to hit water, like for a well, you don't dig a little bit in many different spaces. You dig deep in one space.
There you go. Let's go deep, not wide.
Okay. So if someone becomes serious about Vedanta and serious about yoga, almost it is highly advised that you find a particular tradition and you go deep in that tradition. It's not that you're disrespecting other traditions, but you need to find a practice that works, and you need to go deep into that practice.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting because if you go to India, they all sort of look the same. Like that guy's got a robe on, and that guy's got a kurta on, and that guy's got, he's offering incense and a ghee lamp as well. But the results are different.
Yeah.
The results of that puja is for stuff of this world, not for necessarily liberation. And so you get a different product at the end. And the results of Krishna are actually Vishnu, Krishna, Ram, etc., is transcendence of this world.
There you go. So when we chant Mahamantra, which is focused on Radha and Krishna, we don't in any way feel like it's we focus there because we feel it's the most universal, because it goes to the very root, and therefore it pleases and satisfies every. If I only worship one deva, I haven't satisfied another. But if I worship Krishna, I've satisfied them all.
Because they're all connected to Krishna as the roots.
Yeah. And so in our tradition, we don't so much chant to the various devas and so on. We honor them for sure. But our kirtan is for Radha and Krishna, especially. That's
very good.
Is that all right with you, Raga?
Let's go with that.
Okay. Hope that's helpful, Leslie.
Next question.
Okay.
Where are we? Oh, this is from Dennis van Limburg.
Dennis van Limburg.
Yeah. Dear Kastuba, Raghunath, and Mara, I am an other from the Netherlands. I have a question about reading the Bhagavad Gita. When reading a verse, I directly go to the English translation and the purport. I skip the Sanskrit and the word-by-word translation. My focus is on trying to understand the content of the Gita. So I think that is why I dive directly into translation and the purport. When reading the Sanskrit, it is such a language unknown to me that the words might as well have been some random letter combination. But am I missing out? What is the importance of studying the verse in Sanskrit? Thank you for all that you do, for the wisdom of the sages. The podcast has helped me tremendously on my journey on a spiritual path.
Thank you.
Nice,
Dennis.
Sweet. Nice, sweet.
You want to take that first?
There always is benefit. The older I get, the more like me and Mara were reading these beautiful prayers this morning. I wanted to read one to you. Can I just read you a verse?
Are you going to read the Sanskrit?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
128 it was. Okay, listen to this one. That's not it. I lost my page. I can't remember. Forget it. Anyway, there's a great appreciation of the language, of the poetry, of the beauty behind it. Some Bengali told me once, because a lot of the songs we sing are in Bengali because Lord Chaitanya was from Bengal, and he was doing the translation for the song we sing to Shri Guru Charana Padma. And he's like, this song is so beautiful, you can't even fully understand it. I said, well, is it just regular Bengali? He goes, no, it's like in Shakespearean English. You know what I mean? Which is almost like another type of English. He goes, there's such a nuanced beauty to it that unless you really understand it, you can't fully appreciate it. And this is why, like, I'm eager to learn like Braj Bas and even Hindi, because there's so many stories and so many nuances of these songs that it's hard for us to even get reading just the translation. And what do you call that in poetry? The alliterations, not just the rhyming, but the alliterations. Poetic ornaments, yes. You can't fully appreciate, but I will say this. I think you're doing good. You're reading the English, you're reading the purports, and I think that other stuff will come. You'll want to have it come more as you get, only because it's actually very, very sweet to understand the Sanskrit. And I still am a novice, but every now and then I like to pull it apart. Like, what does this mean? What does this actually mean here? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's different ways to read, and we can read different ways at different times according to, where we're at the moment. So the fact is, if you did nothing but read the English translations, that is enough in one sense, right? Like everything that you need to understand can be understood that way.
Hmm.
But Dennis says that my focus is on trying to understand the content of the Bhagavad Gita. Well, the fact is that understanding something about the Sanskrit will help you understand the content. So, my point here is that on the one hand, yes, the translation is enough, but on the other hand, it is very valuable to engage with the Sanskrit. And like myself, I've been into this for 35 years. I still don't know anything about Sanskrit grammar, practically nothing, right? But
Even after your Oxford training?
yes, even after my in-depth studies at Oxford, I still know practically nothing about Sanskrit grammar.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know, I have some familiarity with the with what's the word I'm looking for? God, I'm so bad. Just with the words themselves, the meanings of the words themselves.
Transliterations?
No. In other words,
Vocabulary?
the vocabulary. Thank you. With the vocabulary,
Yeah.
I have, so like, when I read Bhagavad Gita, if you were to read me a Bhagavad Gita verse and just read me the Sanskrit, I might be able to, piece it together and tell you like what the meaning of it is, but what happens is when you study, when you basically my studies in my life, I went through some schooling, I kind of just passed through it, but once I got into bhakti, my life studies have been studying this stuff, right? Studying Bhagavad Gita, studying Srimad Bhagavatam, studying Chaitanya Charitamrita, and books like this, Sanskrit books especially. And although I don't know the Sanskrit, I know I've engaged with it enough that it helps me make connections. And this is when it really gets exciting. And this is when you see that this goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and it reveals more and more and more. When you start to make connections, you're making connections with a different word. Oh, this verse used that word, and this verse used it too. And you start
Right.
to put it together, and you start to understand it more. Or in this commentary mentioned this.
Right.
You'll begin to, as you become more familiar with the Sanskrit, you're going to begin to draw connections, and those connections are going to reveal more of the content of the Bhagavad Gita than you would have gotten without that. So
That's why our Shloka study group with the Chandra is so valuable, because you start to pick up words again and again and again and again. It's really fun to find the roots of these words.
Yeah. And so Srila Prabhupada, like in the temples, like as part of the regular program, the daily morning programs that they would have for the Srimad Bhagavatam class, they did something that we don't do on Wisdom of the Sages. Every day they would read the Sanskrit, right?
Yep.
He would read it. He would read the Sanskrit verse. He would read it. He would have it. Everyone repeat it back to him. Like several times.
Om, Namo,
Each
Namo.
word, and then the lines, so that like everyone was engaged in reading it, engaging with it, learning to pronounce it. Then he would go word for word translation, and only then read the translation.
Right.
So he was encouraging us to engage with the Sanskrit, and to engage with the Sanskrit vocabulary and learn it a bit. And it is valuable. So it's not essential, but it is valuable.
All right. I'm going to read you some Sanskrit right now, my friend. And you know this.
Okay.
These are the prayers to Radharani. So we did the prayers to Krishna and to Radharani, but these are all names of Radharani. You might even know it. Makeshvari, Kriyeshvari, Svadeshvari, Sareshvari, Tribeda Tarateshvari, Pramana Shasaneshvari, Rameshvari, Shameshvari, Pramoda Kananeshvari, Brajeshvari, Brajapti Peshi, Radhika Namostute. Isn't that lovely?
It's beautiful. Translation.
These are all names of Radharani. So Makeshvari is, O mistress of all kinds of sacrifice. Kriyeshvari, of mantras, Svadeshvari, Sureshvari, of mantras uttering during yagya, of all the gods, of the teachings of the three Vedas, right? Triveda Bharateshvari, of enforcements of all scriptural principles. I guess that's Pramana Shashaneshvari, of the goddess of fortune. of forgiveness and of delightful forest of Vrindavan. O mistress and empress of Braj, O Srimati Radhika, I offer my pranams unto you.
There you go. So there's beauty and there's meaning. Dennis, he mentioned when reading the Sanskrit, it is such a language unknown to me that the words might as well have been some random letter combination.
Right.
Well, until you learn it,
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the
yeah.
the mystery starts to reveal itself to you.
Yeah, and the more that you learn it, the more that it reveals. So it's not essential, but it's really worth it to get into it.
Well, especially in the Gita, because so many words are repeated. When I started really learning shlokas, I was like, "Yep, that's here again. Here it comes
The more
again."
you learn, the easier it is to learn more. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
All
it
right.
for today, Roga.
Oh wow.
Hey,
I got an announcement, Kostuba.
We got to talk about tomorrow. We're here tomorrow at the same time, right? 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
And I think we're going to interview each other again. I think it's going to be part 2 of these are a few of our favorite things.
These are pure. Okay, great. Guess who's first? It was Tarun's first kirtan yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Tarun's first kirtan. He played mridanga in this kirtan. It was quite wonderful. He's hiding behind me right now. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Hey. Oh. Careful, Dad's delicate. Remember. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for all our Patreon community who support us financially. If you've liked what we're doing, you want to support us, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. It's a community supported podcast. And we're happy that we're doing this. And happy for myself that I get to read the Bhagavatam every day and discuss it. I feel like it's really saved my life in a lot of ways. Helps me through a lot of anxiety. Thanks to everybody who's out there regularly on Zoom. If you want to join us on Zoom, email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, so you can send out the code so you can join. And we're going to have a whole bunch of merch this spring. Wisdom of the Sages merch. Isn't that cool?
Gotta get it out soon.
Gotta get it up soon. And is our retreat sold out up here? Oh, we have one-day passes.
One-day passes.
Or if you want to stay off-site for the Wisdom of the Sages retreat, go to our website, wisdomofthesages.com/events. And or you can go to my Instagram. By the way, when me and Kostuba share things on Wisdom of the Sages Instagram page, share them yourself. Share them to your stories. Or if I have something that you like from Wisdom of the Sages, you can share that on your stories. Tag us, and this is how we get the word out there to people. It's like a world wide web out there.
It's all connected.
And it might be the best way ever to spread the holy name.